As I shared in today's short, only one of my phones allows for 10 minutes, and I'm going to take advantage of that to talk about something very important since we have our lovely YouTube podcast shorts. And so, on today's inspiring human potential content, and the next couple of days, you'll find, as always, everything related to unconditional love and neutrality, which is the 5D way. So, this 5 dimension, it begins in the metaphysics esotericism world, so the spiritual stuff, the holistic stuff, all of that. And then it can move into, though, conversations of actual spirituality. So that would be expansion of consciousness from a background that is purely heard by people who are in the yogic sciences and actually from that spectrum. I like to learn from Sadhguru, and I respect, in fact, those teachings very much. They're amazing. They give me ways to explain how, humanly speaking, those of us who navigate this unconditionally loving and compassionate spectrum physiologically, so I have the somatics and trauma experts, and really it's the polyvagal theory, Dr. Stephen Porges, that has given me a way to explain something that I personally experience every day, and that is part of the enlightenment soul age group journey, which is equal to a 5DC, self-empowered enlightened person, a person who's actually in a ventral vagal state. They're always in compassion. And although some would say you can't always be in compassion, I'll definitely raise my hand and share experiences related to instead being in compassion and being able to, in fact, interact at least a couple of times. I'd say 1, 2, 3. I'm thinking like 2-3 times in moments where loved ones were being reactive, and so their nervous system, their body, in an actual not very comfortable and safe space. They weren't doing anything wrong. They were in what Stephen Porges terms biological rudeness. So I'm going to equal, I'm in a trusting body, they're in a not trusting body. I'm in a safe body, they're in a non-safe body. And that non-safe body doesn't look like anything different, except for when people get all angry and they say, well, that's anger. Okay, so enlightenment soul age group people, we are physiologically in compassion because we will get passionate, but our mind doesn't get fuzzy. I was like 16 or 18 when, and I tell one of these stories all the time, when I recognized my mind getting fuzzy because I'd get very passionate. That's the word I used since I'm Neapolitan in addition to American, but the Neapolitan blood in me, that Italian, makes me very passionate. Southern Italian, FYI. Naples, Italy, particularly. I love it. It's La Dolce Vita, for real. It must be the Vesuvius. Our bodies know that, for all we know, tomorrow we won't be there because it might explode. And there's actually, like, every year, there's the ritual of, I think it's one of the saints' bloods that they hope is, and it's a protector of Naples. I forget the name. I should know the name. But anyways, this person, this little flask, if the blood doesn't melt whenever this has happened in the past, that's when the Vesuvius has exploded. Something like that. So a bad history because I don't remember data points that well. But what I do remember is feelings. So as I was saying, the fuzzy little brain, that happens when we are beginning to be in our fight, flight, or in a sympathetic mode, in a stressed mode. And that's because cortisol starts to actually saturate our hippocampus. And there's a way that I found on the nicabm.com infographic on anger that they show you exactly what happens chemically speaking. Just look it up. Infographic, anger, NICABM. So, long story short, what I'm trying to get to in the short time we have together is that if you are a person who is your own mature feminine, mature masculine, so you have a relationship with your physical sensations, this is a body, and then your masculine is your head, and that would be the mind. And I know that there's other ways that people talk about these aspects, and there's many ways, in fact, that we talk about these aspects, because as a person, there's not only one subject matter that you are made of, if you will. And in fact, this is where we would get into a lot of different types of, again, conversations, but only with the actual functional adult people. So people who are enlightenment soul age group material, which would be people who remain clear, calm, and collected because they stay in what is a ventral vagal system. So ventral vagus nerve, if you start looking at it, is this 10th cranial nerve. And when you look at how a body stays in compassion. Again, from my lovely trauma-informed courses, this is educational material. I'm explaining that the technology, when it's looking at a body and a person's in a state of compassion thanks to mindfulness, words that a lot of people love to use, and then they don't really know if they're using it or not. I do. So the insula lights up, apparently the amygdala, and let me use the Dan Siegel fist. So he uses the hand, this would be the amygdala, and when your hand is like this, excuse me for the posture, it's not a really great looking one, but this would be the prefrontal cortex. So when this is closed, your brain's an integrated brain. But if you're this C cup, you're being hijacked by your limbic system. And he's not the only one who talks about this very beautiful hand model and this very beautiful way of explaining the brain. Tara Brach, if I remember her last name correctly, she does a lot of mindfulness on YouTube for free videos. And there's one which is amazing, where she gives people a way to actually be able to work with this limbic system that's like the waves that move you left and right. And so, again, when you have a relationship with your body, I remember these lovely waves as I don't remember, what was I, 20-something? But yeah, I remember basically being like, okay, these are my emotions. I am sure that I can rock with my own emotions in a way that leads me to stay at ease, because there's nothing bad about emotional feelings. In fact, we are emotional beings, but this is not widespread. So again, the functional adults, we get to talk a lot, but the people who are insisting that we are only this or only that, again, very, very fascinating bunch of people. And what I really wanted to continue noting on our lovely topic is how to be in enlightenment. You don't have to believe in anything spiritual or spirituality related. In fact, it's not a belief system. It's a human being who knows how to navigate life with this ventral vagal state, which is our social engagement state. Thank you, Stephen Porges, for presenting how love is not unrequited or not met, that you can only actually be in a state of physiological love if your ventral vagal state is engaged, because that's when your love oxytocin gene hormone is on, which is more than just the love brain circuitry. So people love to learn about pieces of us, but they don't actually look at the whole. So the whole is when you're in compassion, your insula lights up, which connects your head and your body and allows you to actually have good feeling of what's going on. And your window of tolerance, this is an important word to note. So if you're in a state of compassion, insula lights up, the amygdala, because that means, something wants my attention, something important. My temporal junction, where I will relate to whatever is taking place based on my past experiences. When people love to talk about karma, this is where karma, they don't use it well. And also, it's something, if we need to look at it from what you're carrying from your past, it actually comes up easily. So if I've been in relationships where there was not trust, basically not expansion, not speaking heart to heart, I will have those in my memory, but I can carry them, as Sadhguru's presented, and in fact I do very easily in my hand with compassion, because I move to my prefrontal cortex, which is where I get to note, to take in information, what can I do and what can I not do, because I'm equanimous thanks to being in a safe environment here. And so I'm still engaging socially while I'm being in an interaction where I'm being treated with the biological rudeness by people who are in their fight, flight, freeze, fawn, so not trusting body. They're, not quite nice to me, but while I'm like, okay, they're stressed out, let me see, how can I handle this? I keep speaking and I keep sharing my passion and my truth and authenticity. And so here's where, again, Enlightenment Soul Age Group, it's all about being a functional adult. It's all about knowing actually how to sit in unconditional love, because compassion requires for you to be in a safe environment, but it begins here, and this is where we can be in a restorative embodied self when you've achieved a level of visibility of your own attachment and or trauma wounds. And so if you tune in to episodes, you'll hear more on that note. And again, no need to be spiritual or spirituality, just the experts in trauma and in somatics will do to help you learn how to be in a loving state at all times. Tune in for more and have a wonderful day and we'll be back with more shorts. Let me know if there's something you want to talk about.